Hello everyone, I'm Dino Prehistoric and welcome back to my stream. And also welcome back to Jurassic World Evolution 2 Modded. So I did do some setting up for the previous stream and then I went through it and then I realized my audio was messed up. So I'm doing a redo, except this time we don't have to do all the hatchery stuff. So basically I've added some more environments that we can use in order to like see some of the other time periods other than this one, which we've got here. I've also added a whole bunch more aquatics into our ecosystem and flyers. Hello, what's up? How you going? So, starting off, we've got our first ecosystem, which is around 1 million to 10,000 years ago. So about that time period. So that is the. So this means that the Columbian mammoth and Dinotherium, as well as two others which you can't necessarily see. We've got our goat, or ibex, which is a wild goat, and our turtle. And the last one is this one, a giant beaver. It may not look giant, but like it's huge. Yeah. Here. So this beaver, I want to talk about this beaver first because it's a kind of a bittersweet story. So this beaver is the size of a giant black bear. So it's the size of a giant black bear, and well, it's also like sorry, it's the size of a giant black bear, and it existed in North America in its wetland ecosystem, but it lived differently to other beavers. This guy actually ate plants, soft plant matter. So it didn't eat like the logs, and it didn't chew up wood like it didn't chew up wood like other beavers. So this guy had weaker teeth, and we found that out. Which is very interesting. And so, interestingly enough, this guy was also less aggressive than other beavers. So, this guy is literally the definition of a gentle giant. A slow wandering beaver that would eat these weak, waterlogged plants in the rivers and lakes. And then humans came around and decided this was the perfect item to kill, when there's plenty more meat on like a Columbian mammoth or something. Which is really sad. It's a bittersweet thought. Yeah. But yeah, this is the so this is the giant beaver. The Dinotherium is a really unique elephant. It went extinct because of the Ice Age. So, but all these animals here went extinct because of the Ice Age, except for the goat. So they all went extinct because of the Ice Age, because of the snow specifically. Because the snow covered up all the plants for the beaver to eat, so it was not able to get its weak, soft plants, and it could only eat resistant plants, which would hurt its teeth. And for this guy, it couldn't dig up roots. So, this guy is a very unique elephant in that it would dig up roots with its teeth, and it had a very interesting diet. Not much is known about it. So yeah. It's also kind of small. It's about the size of a normal elephant. Well, the African elephant. So it's not as huge as others would expect. So during the time, ibex or the goat would have been traveling around the globe. So it had been traveling around the globe, and it would have been very different to other goats as they kept spreading, because they started in Asia and they ended up in North America by this time. But they would have existed at the time of the terror bird, well, this one specifically, but they just wouldn't have existed together, which is really unfortunate. So turtles have been existent on this world for ages, and yeah, so there was obviously one at this time. That's pretty much why it's there. And then we've got the last creature, the Columbian mammoth. So this is not the woolly mammoth. There are multiple types of mammoths, and I realize that people don't really know that. So yeah, this is Columbian mammoth. This guy didn't have lots of hairs, and it was larger than the woolly mammoth, and it went extinct because of the Ice Age, because it didn't have any wool. And so after this guy went extinct, North America froze up and connected with Europe for the first time in a millennia, like lots of millennia. And so then the woolly mammoth from Asia spread to North America during that time. So yeah, that's really interesting. And this guy's a very special one, because it was absolutely huge. So yeah. And interestingly, I was looking up at the progress of the woolly mammoth that Colossal's trying to create, because this is the big genetics company, and they're trying to make a woolly mammoth, and they've made a new step in the production of it, where they found the woolly gene, or the cold adaptable gene, where they can turn a mammal that doesn't have a lot of wool to make it essentially a woolly version of it, which has exaggerated fat levels, and that was really interesting. So they created a woolly mouse. Yeah, that's really interesting. So eventually they'll plan to make a woolly mammoth, and that'll be really cool to see. So our next time period is around 5 to 2 million years ago. We've got our turtles. So we've got 2 turtles in here. Very interesting turtles. And then we've got the most unique terror bird. This is one of the largest terror birds, and at the same time it's also one of the latest. Most terror birds went extinct about 20 million years ago, but this guy went extinct only 2 million years ago due to competition and the changing environment. So that's really interesting for a terror bird to exist in this time. And annoyingly, just like with this environment, they don't have a lot of mods or just in-game species of this. So there's no saber-toothed cat, so I can't put the large, powerful saber-toothed cat in here. I can't put wolves in here. And for this one, I can't put the smaller saber-toothed cat. And I can't even put like a glyptodon, which is the actual prey item of Titanus, which is really unfortunate. So I'm gonna have to make do with turtles and a terror bird. Moving on to a 75 million years ago era. So this is the era of the Daspletosaurus. So the predator we were looking at before, the Tyrannosaur, but it didn't belong in North America. That's because it exists here. So this is Daspletosaurus. And I found out Nasutoceratops lives in this time. So we've got Nasutoceratops, we've got Centrosaurus, and we've got Avaceratops. So yeah, That's this environment 75 million years ago with our unique evolving tyrannosaur. Then this is much late, uh, earlier. This is the early Cretaceous section. So we've got the Acrocanthosaurus, a really cool Carcharodontosaurid. Then we've got Tenotosaurus, one that I didn't show off last time, but yeah, so this is Tenotosaurus. So this guy was commonly hunted by Deinonychus, and interestingly, most fossils of this guy was discovered with 4 other Deinonychus on top of it. So that's the only evidence of a group behavior. And so Deinonychus is currently the only dromaeosaurid that we believe actually had some form of hunting together. Whether it was pack hunting or not is a very different story. So here's the animal in question that we were talking about, Deinonychus. So, yeah, it's a really cool model. It's smaller than the Jurassic Park Velociraptor, which is a good thing because it really shouldn't be as large as it was. So yeah, this is Deinonychus. The other raptor which we saw, or dromaeosaurid, is Utahraptor. This is the in-game model, so this is the frontier model of the Utahraptor, which is really cool. I really like it. I think it's pretty paleo accurate, so this is the one I'm going to use. So, yeah, this is Utahraptor. Utahraptor is the largest dromaeosaurid to ever be discovered as of yet. It's also completely robust. It has a very different design. It was very stocky and very powerful, which is very unique for dromaeosaurids. Then within this enclosure, we've also got Sauropelta, the other dinosaur I didn't introduce last time. So I've already introduced ankylosaurs and hadrosaurs since last time, when I stuffed up with the sound. But yeah, so this is Sauropelta, an early nodosaurid that lived in this time, hunted by Utahraptor and all of the others, but it was very tough to kill. So yeah, really cool animal. Then the last two, which you could probably already see from the beginning, is Ostodon, a smaller sauropod, most likely hunted by Carcharodontosaurus, and Sauroposeidon. Sauroposeidon is the tallest sauropod to ever exist. So, yeah. Definitely would be scary for Acrocanthosaurus to try and hunt this thing, but it probably will try it in-game. And the last creature is Iguana colossus, a huge iguanodontid, one of the last of its kind that went extinct as time went on. Yeah, so this guy would be a force to be reckoned with against Acro. It was like heavier than Acro. Yeah, so really cool. Over here we've got a different time period. So we've got, however you pronounce this dinosaur, I don't actually know how to pronounce it. And you've got, so this guy came alongside another ceratopsine, which I didn't know how to pronounce, Diabloceratops. And they lived at the same time, so that's why I got the dual pack. So we've got this ceratopsine and that ceratopsine. These two existed at around 80 million years ago, so they existed with a switchover of 2 predators, one being Thanothorestes, and the other being Lurthornax. Lurthornax doesn't actually have an in-game model or a mod, so I need you guys to decide whether we use this model, the Arctic Daspletosaurus, the Nanucosaurus, or the Avian Daspletosaurus. They all have their numbers. So Arctic's 1, the Avian Feathered Daspletosaurus 2, and Nanucosaurus is 3. So in terms of size, Nanucosaurus is closer. So it's probably going to be this Nunukasaur model, because there's actually two models. We're using the prehistoric planet Nunukasaur model that, well, it's called prehistoric planet Nunukasaur model. And then we'll use this one possibly for Lithornax. So the Daspletosaurs are a bit large for Lithornax, but this guy's within the smaller size range. And I definitely think we should use this guy, but I want your guys' decision on it. So Daspletosaurus is also too heavy for to be Lithornax anyway as well. But Nanothorestes also existed within the time period of 80 million years ago. But it existed after Lithornax and took over Lithornax. So they existed with the same prey, but just different time period. Lithornax probably turned into Dinothorestes because they had a very different design like that. So we'll look at Dinothorestes again. We'll put that in the environment. So Dinothorestes was one of the earliest tyrannosaurs ever discovered, but Lithornax was the earliest in North America. I really like this model. It really puts out a fear factor. I mean, look at that. That's terrifying, and I love that they could do that with this model without making it inaccurate. So yeah, this guy took over from Lithornax, probably this one. And so they existed with the same prey, like I said before, but they didn't exist alongside each other. So we'll put Dinothorestes in there, and I'll let chat decide for our next stream. When I do my next stream, you guys can say what your decision was. And then there was one more environment in here, which I set up, and that is 70 million years ago. This is with Tyrannosaurus macrancis, not Rex macrancis. So this is macrancis. So this was the other Tyrannosaur I was talking about. Yeah. This is the other Tyrannosaur. This is the predecessor to Tyrannosaurus Rex. One of the last Tyrannosaurs in the lineage. So, in terms of lineage, it would go Lithornax, Dinothorestes. Dinothorestes would evolve into something like, there's Plesiosaurus. And then Daspletosaurus evolved into Tyrannosaurus macrancis. And that guy evolved into Rex. Somewhere over here. This Rex. There's Rex. It eventually evolved into this guy, the super robust predator that we know today. So, Tyrannosaurus macrancis was slightly lighter, slightly smaller, weaker bite, basically a basal Tyrannosaurus. And so alongside it, we never actually saw it, but here is the basal Triceratops as well. Different horn size and just generally smaller. So we're going to have a battle for the ages with this. And on top of it, I also added Edmontosaurus in here as well, because why not? This is the different model to the other one we've got, so this is a different species without a crest. I really like this one. And I want to include it in this time period, so yeah, that's that. So now, we can move on to look at the aquatics. So, I kind of neglected aquatics and pterosaurs and stuff, so this time we'll take a deep dive into them, pun intended. So firstly, we've got Tylosaurus, one we saw long before, but yeah, so this is Tylosaurus. The more agile, bone-crushing design teeth of Tylosaurus allowed it to hit harder prey and break bone, and it was much faster than Mosasaurus, it was 75 kilometers, but at the same time it was possibly slower because it didn't have enough beef in order to, push that speed. So, not much evidence is done on Tylosaurus speed, but a lot has been done on Mosasaurus speed. So, talking about Mosasaur, let's grab Mosasaur. So, this is the Mosasaurus. Much thicker and very huge, around 18 meters long. This predator could travel its own body weight in 1 second at top speed, which is pretty crazy. So that's around 65 kilometers per hour, which is really insane. So this guy had a way more powerful bite, just because of the jaw strength there. But its teeth were designed for breaking bone over crushing. This guy was lacerating with its bite, and it's just, yeah, really strong. So moving on, we've got Archelon. We've already talked about him. It's the largest turtle to ever swim our oceans. Yeah, it's really cool. Around 3 tons. Nothing could harm it at this size except a mosasaur. Then we've got Ophthalmosaurus. So this will be our Ophthalmosaurus model. Ophthalmosaurus is really cool because it's one of the last ichthyosaurs of a very long lineage. Ichthyosaurs began all the way in the Triassic and still survived today. Not today. Still survived to this time period. Definitely not today. So that's over 106. That's nearly 140 million years of survival of this clade, which is really impressive. So Ophthalmosaurus particularly evolved a nocturnal style so that it avoided most of the other big, large predators, and yeah. So it had large eyes, this powerful streamlined body that could thrust forward at over 80 kilometers per hour when it wanted to. Yeah, it's really cool. And we saw in the distance, it's Predator. So the main predator of Ophthalmosaurus was not Mosasaurus, it couldn't catch it, but it was actually sharks. So this is a bull shark model, but I think it matches really well with the prehistoric one. So, yeah, this is shark. In the background, we'll talk about this one. So this is Elasmosaurus. So there are 2 creatures that existed in the Western Interior Seaway that look like this, Elasmosaurus being one of them, and the other is Styxosaurus. Both these guys were the last and longest plesiosaurs. There's Styxosaurus actually, looking at it. So this guy is almost 10 meters long. Its neck made up most of its length. Styxosaurus is the same. And yeah, they're pretty cool. Really interesting animal, very well documented. And yeah, I'm really glad that they made a mod to make it more paleo accurate, because it looks like a croc in the game. Then this is Styxosaurus, which we basically apply everything we said about Elasmosaurus to this guy, except it's really streamlined and it was slightly smaller, I believe. So that's Styxosaurus. Talked about bull shark. Here is a really interesting fish. So we've got Xiphactinus, and it's above the water. Yeah, so Xiphactinus is a really unique fish. Hi, how you going? So this is Xiphactinus. So Xiphactinus is a really cool fish. It is, when it was first discovered, they found a large Xiphactinus, and then they discovered it. They realized that inside its belly was a smaller Xiphactinus, swallowed whole. So that's really interesting. That's a unique thing about this guy. It was cannibalist, and its jaw was designed so they could just swallow. The game's not that laggy on my end. It might just be your end. It's actually working really well. So Xiphactinus was prey as well. It was prey to Mosasaurus and other creatures, but it was also a really cool predator, and I don't think anyone would want to mess with this fish. So yeah, that's Xiphactinus. Let's see, what else are we missing? Oh, so talking about sharks, here's another cool shark. I don't think it's the stream, I think it might be your internet that's laggy. Like, yeah, I'm looking at the stream on my end. It's fine. It's very fine. Yeah. Let me check task manager maybe. Yeah, the encoder's fine on my end. Yeah. It might just look really bad, maybe, because it's a mod. But I'm not sure. Anyway, so this is another shark. It's a shark. Um, yeah. So this guy is smaller than the bull shark, but there are all kinds of sharks during this time. Sharks are one of the few predators that never went extinct. They just kept on evolving, and so this is one of them. And I really like this one. So it's here in the Western Interior Seaway. Oh yes, so the second largest turtle is Protostega, and you can really see the size of Mosasaur. Absolutely massive giant. So you would expect this Mosasaurus would try Protostega, but its armor would be too strong. Um, so yeah. This is about 2 tons. Mosasaurus weighed around 15 to 20. Huge. But yeah, this guy still couldn't be hunted because of its shell, which is really cool. The last creature, maybe. Let me just go through. Yep, the last creature is another mosasaur. So this is a smaller one. This is Globidens. It's really cool. It's much smaller, around 6 meters long, instead of the huge possible 20-meter long mosasaur and the 18-meter long tylosaur. This guy's only 6 meters long, and it's really unique. The Globidens is named for its teeth because they look like globes. They were so bulbous, and they were definitely designed for smashing and crushing stuff, way better than Tylosaur, but Tylosaur had a bit of a different feeding habit. So this guy mainly fed on ammonites and could easily, interestingly, it could easily probably attack an Archelon and be able to penetrate its shell. So its bite force was definitely different, and it made it a really unique mosasaur. This guy existed everywhere as well. Globidens existed in North America, Africa, South America, and it also existed up to Indonesia as well. So, yeah, that's Globidens. And that is also the summary of the Western Interior Seaway and all the mods. We do still have our pancakes in here. I can't remove them. So interestingly, the game won't let me tranquilize these guys, so I'm just gonna have to somehow starve them, kill them, get rid of them, because they don't exist in the Western Interior Seaway. So moving on to our pterosaurs. There are actually 2 pterosaurs I neglected. That is Cryodraken. So I didn't mention this, but last time I got more mods, so I updated my mod list and I found Cryodraken. So Cryodraken is a really cool, deadly looking pterosaur, and this guy existed in Canada, which is really interesting. So this guy was the apex of the skies in Canada, and so this guy is really cool. Like last time, we've still got Quetzalcoatlus. We've still got our Pteranodon, this really cool one, the Lost World design, and we've still got Geosternbergia. But there's an interesting fact about the other one. So this is Nyctosaurus. So this guy's a really cool, unique pterosaur, and it was actually discovered dead at the bottom of the Western Interior Seaway, technically. So this guy was flying over the Western Interior Seaway, and it gave scientists the first evidence that these pterosaurs are actually capable of flying over the seaway, and this guy just didn't make the cut, and so it died. Yeah, and then it most likely just fell into the water, possibly due to fishing. They could have been fishing in the Western Interior Seaway. And so this guy, along with Barbarodactylus and other pterosaurs, this is the Nyctosaurid pterosaurs, so they had this really interesting crest. Whether they had a skin whether they had skin over it or not. A really interesting topic of debate. Um, but yeah, this is a Nyctosaurus, which is a really cool new pterosaur. I keep forgetting to move Dinothrustes. Okay, so now we're moving on to this, which I have updated since last time as well. So starting off, we've got Nanucosaurus. This is the Nanucosaurus, which is actually Nanucosaurus for our game, for the documentary. This is still mods. We're still looking at mostly mods. So yeah, this is Nanucosaurus. Then up here in Alaska, we've got a Troceraptor. So this is the real Troceraptor, much smaller than the Dominion one, which decided to make it human-sized, and they missed out on the feathers and the really uniqueness of this animal. This animal had a really unique bite force, and so yeah, a really cool animal. Then we've obviously got Pachyrhinosaurus. Really unique ceratopsian with a bulbous, I think that's what it's called. The bludgeon ceratopsian is another nickname for it. Then we'll move on to Canada. So in Canada and Alaska, actually, we've got the troodontid Ceronychus. I'm pretty sure is how you pronounce it. So this guy is not a dromaeosaurid, despite it having a toe claw. It's a troodontid. But troodon is actually named after teeth, and they realized these teeth were not a troodon, or like this thing. They were actually different, but the clade is still named Troodon, even though Troodon doesn't exist like this anymore. So this is Ceronychus, which basically is the name of the Troodon that we thought was Troodon. It's kind of hard to explain, but this guy was another bird. This guy's the other bird-like lineage, so Troodontids and Dromaeosaurids were the other bird-like lineages in Paraaves, alongside aves in that group. So yeah, that's the Cynonicus, I think is how you pronounce it. Then we've obviously got Gorgosaurus, so really cool Gorgosaur. Beautiful animal, super streamlined, super fast, super cool. Not much to say about it. Then we've got our Dromaeosaurus. There, see? Dromaeosaurus. Definitely not that one, it's this one. Yeah. So in our game, sorry. In the game, this is Pyroraptor, or the Dominion Pyroraptor, which is way too big to be Pyroraptor. But in terms of paleo accuracy, it makes a pretty good Dromaeosaurus. So this is Dromaeosaurus. For the documentary. I really like it. It's another one that belonged in both Alaska and Canada. And so yeah, that's really cool. Next up, there is Enosaurus. So, this doesn't look like the other Enosaurus I showed last time. That's because it doesn't. I removed it. So I found a more recent, up-to-date Enosaurus mod, and I decided that this one would probably work better in terms of how laggy and stuff it would make the game. So, I put this one in. So yeah, this is our Enosaurus. And then the other creature, which just walked by here, is Ornithomimus. So this is the first ornithomimid that was discovered here in North America. Well, not here in North America, but in North America, because I'm obviously in Australia. So this guy, unfortunately, the mod who created this model, there isn't an Ornithomimus in game. But this guy is supposed to be an ostrich mimic. That's what the name means, and so it's supposed to be feathered, but there's no feathers on it, which is annoying. But I'll just have to deal with it. It's an inaccuracy, but it's still there. It's got its hands in the right posture, actually, which is really cool. I just wish it was feathered. We've already talked about them. So then we've got Pentaceratops. So this is a really unique, cool, big, powerful ceratopsian. So this guy was huge. It was as big as Triceratops, but it's not. It has this really massive skull. There were holes in this skull, which meant it was lighter, so that this guy could actually lift its neck. And its close relative also exists here. This is Titanoceratops. Absolutely massive, even larger than Pentaceratops, and possibly even larger than Triceratops. And so this guy's absolutely huge. So it's got these really cool antler-looking horns, and so yeah, a really cool animal. Then we've got one of the first ankylosaurs we're actually looking at. This is Nodosaurus. So this is basically the updated version of Sauropelta, if you want to think of it that way. So this guy survived, essentially, and so it exists here in this time period. But Nodosaurus also existed with Daspletosaurus. That's how good Nodosaurs were at surviving. So yeah, that's really cool. Then we've got Albertosaurus, of course. So this is the in-game model of Albertosaurus. So this is Frontier's Albertosaur model. The other paleo-accurate Albertosaur that, if you were watching last time, you may remember. Yeah, I decided that would be used for something else. And that if I wanted to do an Albertosaur versus Gorgosaur fight, this guy had to be bigger, because it is bigger. But it isn't when you look at the two models, because they're different mods. So we're using this guy. But yeah, it's still a really cool model. I've already talked about Albertosaurus, so yeah, that's Albertosaurus. Then I'm pretty sure the last creature is Maiasaura. So this is Maiasaura. Good mother lizard. Yeah, that's what the name pretty much means. Mother lizard is direct translation. Good mother's the translation that we use. So Maiasaura is a really cool hadrosaur. It survived again. So yeah, so this guy was hadrosaur was discovered in massive herds, herding and living with groups with eggs and protecting them, being good mothers, which was the first evidence of parental instincts in dinosaurs. We now know that a lot of others had it. Oviraptorosauria had it. Dromaeosaurs had it. Tyrannosaurs had it. Well, within their own families, they had it. With other tyrannosaurs, that's a bit different story, because they're cannibals. So, here's a really another new one I got when updating my mods. This guy's really cool. It's Lokiceratops. So another ceratopsian, but it's really unique. This guy is named after these two spike horns here. They're actually asymmetrical. So as you can see, the two sides of the frill are asymmetrical. And so it was named Lokiceratops after that asymmetricity in the horns of the Loki's skull. So it's named after the Viking god thing. Loki, yeah. So that's Lokiceratops. Over here in North America as well, we've got Chasmoceratops. Chasmosaurus. So another really cool one, another one closely related to these two, Titanoceratops and Pentaceratops as well. It had a really cool frill, another one with holes in it. All the four that we've just mentioned here had holes in it. Enosaurus might have as well. So yeah, that's Chasmosaurus. Moving on, I'll ignore that guy for a bit. Moving on, we've got Parasaurolophus. So, interestingly, there's a bit of confusion within the dinosaur community at whether this guy was Asian or American. I want to set this straight. This guy's American. There is another dinosaur called Saurolophus. Just the Saurolophus, not Para. Just Saurolophus. That looked very similar to this guy. That existed in Asia. And that's where the confusion came from. So, to set it differently, this guy has a very trumpet-like or brass-like instrumental crest. So it had pipes in it, essentially, air pipes, that allowed it to produce a very loud, terrifying sound. Saurolophus couldn't. It was a solid piece of bone. So that's to set it straight. So yeah, Parasaurolophus was American. Then moving on, we've got the actual Edmontosaurus. So this is the one with the crest, unlike the other one. Is the other one. So yeah, I really like using multiple models if there are multiple species. So this is the Edmontosaurus for North America 66 million years ago. Then this is the model 75 million years ago. Sorry, 70 million years ago. So yeah, that's Edmontosaurus. This is the famous dinosaur itself, Triceratops. So, we've already talked about him. Osteoderms, the bone in the skin, and the really unique horns. And it's absolutely huge. So this guy's very different to the other ceratopsians. This guy had no hole in its frill, so it was very heavy. Then you've got Torosaurus, an even larger ceratopsian. And so this guy is actually different again. This guy also had holes in its frill, but had a different frill design to the other frills of ceratopsians that had holes in them. So this guy had most likely used its frill for both armor and for display. The others for the same reason, but for Triceratops, most likely definitely for armor, because it was a thick piece of bone. Torosaurus had a heavier skull than Triceratops, and it had straighter horns, so that's the main difference, and it was also much larger. I'll talk about T-Rex a bit later. So then this is the first ankylosaur that we're going to talk about in North America, an actual Ankylosauridae. This is Euoplocephalus. So Euoplocephalus is smaller than Ankylosaurus, but it has a really unique design, and it's pretty similar to other ankylosaurs. It's just got a slightly different head design, but all ankylosaurs have something in common. They are covered from head to toe in bone. So the entire skull is literally a solid piece of bone. The rest of the armor are all osteoderms, and the club tail is pretty cool. It's very stiff at the end, so it's almost like a handle of an actual club, and then the tail here would be used to actually swing and provide lots of force. So it wasn't until recently that scientists actually questioned what this animal actually hit with its tail, whether it was Tyrannosaurus rex or its own species or other ankylosaurs or other herbivores. But it turns out that it was actually both. So this guy evolved to hit its own species, to be very territorial. But it turns out that this club was used, and it turns out it was a really good weapon. Turns out it was a really good weapon it turns out it was a really good weapon for predators. So, moving on, let me just check I haven't missed anything that went through. Okay, yeah, so we've got our large dromaeosaurid of the Hell Creek Formation. This is Dakotaraptor. So, Dakotaraptor is really cool. Just like the Utahraptor, it was huge. It was larger than the Jurassic Park dromaeosaurid, but this guy was half the weight of Utahraptor. this guy is much more agile and would have been much more deadly to human-sized prey because it could actually jump, climb trees. Utahraptor couldn't necessarily jump and climb trees, and this guy could run pretty much double the speed. It's huge, it's quick, and that makes it really deadly. So yeah, it's really cool. Alright, we'll talk about the Pachycephalosaurus. So this is the in-game model of Pachycephalosaurus, but so this guy is really cool. So it has this vertebrae that would lock straight, and then it would ram and be able to absorb tons of impact with this dome skull. Literally half of its skull is the dome, just thick, solid piece of bone, not even hollow. So many people would look at that and think it might have been about the brain, but no, this is a solid piece of bone, so it was definitely for ramming into each other and predators, like the Raptor. So unfortunately, it's not very annoying, but there's actually been some talk about the two other Pachycephalosaurs, Stygimoloch and Dracorex. So unfortunately, they now are believed to be juveniles of Pachycephalosaurus, and it turns out that it's just like how the skulls change as they get older. But there's one thing that I don't agree with, is that just these spikes. I don't see how the spikes on Dracorex and Stygimoloch could just disappear. So you see you've got spikes here, then you've got spikes on this one, and then you start to see the dome. But then on Pachycephalosaurus, it's got no spikes, and we can see that on the skull as well. So yeah, I don't think that is true. I think that Stygimoloch and Dracorex are one species. I'm okay with that. I could really definitely see how this dome, as it got older, just thickened and grew larger. I can really see that. But I can't see how all these massive, scary spikes that the two other species had just gets removed when it gets to this age. It just really doesn't make sense. So my theory would be Stygimoloch is valid, Dracorex is invalid, and Pachycephalosaurus is valid. But you can disagree with me, and until more evidence is found, that will change things. So yeah, that's the Stygimoloch talk. Next up is a really interesting creature in the Hell Creek Formation, Anzu. So it's named after this myth, this god-type myth thing. I'm not sure much about it, but yeah. So this guy existed in the Hell Creek Formation. It is the first Oviraptorsauria discovered in North America. So it's really cool. It's about human height. It's really unique. So it's one of the latest. So most of the Oviraptorsauria went extinct by the time this guy showed up, but it showed up here. It existed. It lived. Yeah, not much else to say about it. Okay, so the other creature, that other ankylosaur, is Ankylosaurus itself, and you can really see how this guy looks like just a piece of armor, and you can kind of see more on this one, the club tail. And so interestingly, all the things that I said about Eupocephalus apply. It was covered from head to toe in armor. Its club was massive, and unlike Eupocephalus, this guy's club interestingly aligns with the ankle of T-Rex. So basically it was an ankle breaker, essentially. It could raise the club slightly, but Ankylosaurus was definitely whacking itself more than T-Rex, but it could definitely whack a T-Rex, break ribs, break ankle, break legs of T-Rex. But yeah, so this is the largest ankylosaur. It's huge, it's powerful, and it's one of my favorite animals. So then I guess we'll have to talk about the T-Rex. So Tyrannosaurus Rex, its full name, is obviously, like I've already mentioned, the predecessor to Tyrannosaurus macrancis. But this guy is much more stocky. So this guy had much more meat on the bone than other Rexes that have been depicted. So this is a really cool. It's gonna roar. Yep. So this guy had a way more powerful bite, and it was way heavier than previously predicted. The T-Rex in Jurassic Park was only 5 tons. This guy's literally double the weight. Tyrannosaurus macrancis here is literally 10 8 to 10 9 to 10 tons now. And so it was huge. It was also much larger. Its length is longer, so this is around 13 meters and long, and it was about 5 meters tall, which is slightly larger than the 12.5 meter Tyrannosaur of Jurassic Park, and its height was around 4.8 meters tall, the Jurassic Park T-Rex. So this guy's even bigger. So yeah, that's T-Rex, and we're still missing some dinosaurs we haven't talked about. Yep. So here is a feathered example of a ornithomimid. So this is Struthiomimus. I forgot what the Struthi means, but it's a bird mimic again. But this is the feathered version, so this guy will have more screen time than Ornithomimus. But yeah, this is Struthiomimus, most likely hunted by Dakotaraptor along with Pachycephalosaurus, Stygimoloch, and possibly even some of the other herbivores. So yeah, that's really cool. A dinosaur I neglected last time, so I never actually talked about it, even though we were looking at tyrannosaurs, is the Tyrannosauroid, Morus intrepidus. It is a Tyrannosauroid purely because it's not a Tyrannosaurid, because it has 3 fingers. A very undeveloped one, and 2 like this. So this is a very clear example of Tyrannosaurs slowly neglecting their hands. But this guy is also much bigger than the Jurassic World Dominion one. So it's almost the size of like a huge dog. It was definitely able of taking up huge dogs and stuff. So yeah, this is Morus intrepidus. And the Dominion model actually didn't have that 3rd finger in it, and it was much more mouse-sized, which is very interesting. But yeah, so this is the paleo-accurate Morus intrepidus model, which is really cool. And the last creature in the not Morrison formation, the Hell Creek formation, is Styracosaurus. So Styracosaurus is very similar to Centrosaurus in terms of the horn, but its frill is very different. And this guy was more like Triceratops. It didn't have holes in its frill, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, this guy's really cool. It's slightly smaller than other ceratopsians in the area, but it was still really cool. And yeah, this is the paleo-accurate mod version of it. So all ceratopsians have it, ankylosaurs have it, sauropods have it. Pretty much all of them have it. And then the last creature in North America for the 65 million years ago is Alamosaurus, a huge sauropod that existed. It did exist about there, but like it didn't necessarily exist in the Hell Creek Formation. It's been discovered there, but that's only because it could travel there, and it's believed that Tyrannosaurus wouldn't be able to hunt this guy. This guy's too strong. So Tyrannosaurus had this bite that was super powerful, but it couldn't get around the it wasn't designed for killing sauropods, it was designed for ceratopsians. So its jaw strength and power wouldn't be able to wrap around. It would lose bite force as it tried to bite around the sauropod's leg and such, so it wouldn't be able to really take this guy down. It could definitely try it. We could try that in the documentary, showing how it tries to, but it pretty much does nothing. So yeah, that's Laramidia. And then we move over to Appalachia. There's actually some dinosaurs this time. So, there is Appalachiosaurus, like we talked about last time. Yeah, so the Tyrannosaur, just like Morris Intrepidus, except this guy's much bigger. It took over the role of apex predator. I put 2 in here, not sure why, but yep, that's the 2 apex predators. Then you've got hadrosaurs. So you've got Lambeosaurus. So really cool crest design. This guy was Appalachian. You've got Hadrosaurus, a really cool one. So this is the name of the clade, Hadrosaurids. So that include the Hadrosauridae includes all of the animals like this guy. So this guy was the first Hadrosaur. So yeah, that's really cool. And the last one is the huge hadrosaur discovered here, Hypacrosaurus. So this guy's very huge. It's much larger and also existed in Appalachia. So for those of you that don't know, this is a map of North America. If I can zoom out. So yeah, this is a map of North America. So we've got Alaska, Canada, North America, Mexico. Nearly forgot it for a second. But so within here, this is the 60. So between 80 million years and 65 million years later, actually, think around 60 million years, North America was divided in 2 by the Western Interior Seaway. So for the 66 million years ago mark, this was all the creatures in Laramidia, the name of this continent, and this is Appalachia. This is most of the animals in Appalachia. I will find more, and then this is the Western Interior Seaway, so imagine that strip in there, living like that. And so, yeah, that is pretty much all that we've got so far. I think I forgot to put Danothorestes. Yep. Forgot to move Danothorestes again. I'll remember this time. So yes, I could do a bit of Google searching. I could actually do something now. List of Appalachian dinosaurs. So there is a few creatures. Upper Cretaceous. We're looking at upper. So there is a lower Cretaceous. The lower Cretaceous is the that one there. So that one existed in Appalachia during the early Cretaceous. That's where Acrocanthosaurus is. Within that time period, there is another early ornithopod. So I'm gonna have to find another ornithopod mod, I guess. Ostrodon we've already talked about. There's another huge sauropod we could add. Hadrosauromorph. Ornithopod. There's Dryptosaurus, so that's another apex. So that was the other apex. Unfortunately, there's no mod for Dryptosaurus, so I can't add Dryptosaurus, which is annoying. Dryptosaurus was the first theropod unearthed in North America. Interesting. So there is another hadrosaur from Alabama that would exist in Appalachia. There's quite a few. There's nodosaurs as well. That's right, we could include So let's actually go through herbivores. So I'm using Cretaceous or something else. It's a nodosaur, yes. So we could do this and go boom, that's Neobarosaurus. So let's do that. So this is gonna be Neobarosaurus for Appalachia. There we go. That's a nodosaur in there. There's quite a few actually. Notice that it was definitely the home of the nodosaurs. Saunatholestes. Interesting, that's very... So there's a possible Saunatholestes. Interesting. So yeah, we could find another ornithopod. Not ornithopod, ornithomimosaur. And we could add it here as well. What was it called? It doesn't look like there's any sauropods in Appalachia. There is the lower Cretaceous, so the Acrocanthosaur stuff. There's that. But yeah. So this is Neobarosaurus. See what it says about Neobar. So it's another example of a nodosaur from Kansas. There's other nodosaurs. There's Pawpaw-saurus. No, that's... Silvosaurus. We could do Silvosaurus. Texitus. We could do that one as well. So, if you want, you can do research on some more Appalachian stuff. If you want, you can help me out, maybe. If there's any dinosaurs you want to see from there, you can. But yeah, so that is basically the late Cretaceous so far. So that is the, not late Cretaceous, the Cretaceous. So, next time, after we decide whether we want to do what we want to do with Lithornax, these three. So remember, we've got option 1, option 2, and we've got option 3. So these two are a bit oversized, but they look pretty cool, so they're options. And then you've got Nanucosaurus, which is a more accurate size, still pretty cool. So yeah, that's the options. So 1, 2, or 3, you can discuss that, guys, for next time, I guess. And And next time we'll definitely be looking at the Jurassic, which is really cool. So yeah, so thank you guys for watching. This is gonna have to wrap up my stream, and yeah, just thanks for watching.